You know, it has Steppin with Marcus J. Thank y'all, everybody, for staying with us as we progress throughout the show. Be down with us tonight. Call us at 804-402-2893 to be part of the flagship show right here live on Legacy Internet Radio. We appreciate it. I teased that last break by saying that we were going to be playing the race card. You know, a little game I like to play called Playing the Race Card. And the reason why I said it that way, obviously my tongue is placed firmly in my cheek when I say that. But the reason why I bring that up and I say it that way is I got a couple of quick stories that I want to do. That basically you'll have some of our brothers and sisters on the right that would tell us that we're playing the race card by always applying race to certain things. But I have a difficult time seeing these types of stories show up in any other community. This first one I'm getting from dailymail.co.uk. This one is about Tamir Rice. He's a 12-year-old boy. He was shot in the stomach by the police, who then watched him die without giving him any kind of first aid or anything like that. 12-year-old boy. Now, there's a backstory to this. He was holding a BB gun. And apparently this was in Cleveland, and there's footage that showed the officer, Timothy Loman, shoot the youngster within 2 seconds of his squad car arriving at the scene, following a 911 call that said the weapon, quote, was probably fake. The video does not show him or his colleague, Frank Drambeck, didn't show how they reacted. The police reported that the boy did not receive any medical attention until 4 minutes after the shooting in the Ohio City. Two other officials coming to the scene, of course, eventually came by and gave the boy some first aid. That's one story. Another story I wanted to bring up, I'm getting from Counter Current News. This one is about the charges in Detroit. Now, we went from Cleveland to Detroit, a few hours north by car. A 7-year-old girl sleeping in her home was shot and killed during a raid. This one is by Officer Joseph Weekly. A 7-year-old girl, she slept on her couch. Now, apparently the reason why the police were in her home is because they were allegedly serving some sort of warrant. When he came in, apparently they came in guns drawn, and many people remember this story because this was when the television show The First 48 was there, and they were filming a lot of this. It was SWAT. They conducted a raid to search, of course, a murder suspect. The officer ended up being the first one in the door. And basically what they're saying is that there was another member threw a flashbang grenade which temporarily blinded him. That's when he shot and killed the child who was sleeping on the couch right there. There was a manslaughter charge that was come up against him. That manslaughter charge was eventually dropped. Another story that I have, and I'm going to run through these real quick and then we'll kind of talk about them holistically. This one I'm getting from addictinginfo.org. It's about an unarmed black man and his daughter who were shot at by police while the dad tried to save her from an asthma attack. This is Brian Dennison and his daughter were rushing home. She was having a severe asthma attack, needed medication right away. Jacksonville Sheriff J.C. Garcia mistakenly thought Dennison had a gun and fired his weapon. According to Dennison, he was holding his daughter at the time. He describes the altercation by saying, quote, "Last night was scary. I had my daughter in the car with me coming from a basketball court. She was having an asthma attack, and I was trying to rush her back to the house. As I'm rushing back to the house, cops behind me, they actually were trying to pull me over. I waved the cop down to tell him just hold on, and when I got out the car, the cops proceeded to come towards me. As I had my hands up, I was explaining to the situation with my daughter. He took a shot at me while my daughter was in my hands at the time. At the moment in time right then and there, I thought I was shot or she was shot." There's more here, but I'll leave that for just a moment. This one is about Ohio, going back to Ohio. So basically we went from Cleveland, we went to Detroit, then we went to Jacksonville, Florida. Now we're back in Beaver Creek, Ohio. This was the Justice Department now saying that they're going to review those police procedures because the shooting that took place on August 5th in the Walmart This was several days before Michael Brown was shot and killed in Ferguson, Missouri. This is John Crawford III, 22 years old, who was shot and killed by the police in a Walmart store. They claimed that he refused to obey orders to put down what turned out to be a BB gun, a gun that he had picked up off of the shelf right there in the Walmart. The last thing I'll get to is the case that's in Pontiac, Michigan, going back up to Michigan. This one, I actually have a clip of this exchange of a police officer who basically happens upon a brother walking down the street, and it appears that this brother's offense this particular day was that he had his hands in his pockets. Take a listen to this.
All right, doing what?
We were walking by.
Okay.
Radio 12's out with that subject just south of Michigan.
Walking by and doing what?
Well, you were making people nervous.
By walking by?
Yeah, they said you had your hands in your pockets.
Wow, walking by having your hands in your pockets makes people nervous to call the police when it's snowing outside?
They did.
Okay.
So are you okay?
I'm fine. Or how about you?
I'm good.
All right.
What are you up to today?
Walking with my hands in my pockets, walking.
Is that an inconvenience to talk to me right now?
Hell yeah, just because of the whole police situation going across the country, this is outrageous that you will let somebody tell you, oh, there's somebody walking down the street with their hands in their pockets. There's 10,000 people in Pontiac right now with their hands in their pockets, so how many...
You're right, but we do have a lot of robberies, so I'm just checking on you. You say
Wow.
you're fine? You're good.
That's fine. I mean, I just made sure I had to get this on camera and make sure there wasn't... Yeah, for sure. Then I mean, for my safety and yours. I mean, I'm being very respectable. You're being very respectable. Just the whole situation. I don't allow I'm really mad at the situation of whoever called. That's crazy.
Well, hey, we got to check on it. Just if you were feeling nervous and you called us, we check on it for you, right?
For sure, but I just would never call.
Hey, no, I Steppin on Marcus. Yeah, I think we got the gist of it. That was a clip of a brother in Pontiac, Michigan, who had the egregious crime of walking down the cold street in the middle of December with his hands in his pockets. So let's kind of back up. We got a 12-year-old with a toy gun shot and killed by the police who didn't even give him first aid. We've got charges dropped against the police who bust into a house to serve a murder warrant, end up killing a 7-year-old child sleeping on the couch just after midnight. We've got a brother who is trying to take his daughter to the hospital or take her home after having had a asthma attack, and the police shoot at him with his hands up. We have the grand jury deciding not to indict a police officer in the shooting of John Crawford, who had a BB gun in his hands in a Walmart. And then you had this brother who was walking down the street with his hands in his pockets, and that apparently was enough for him to be suspicious. So I won't play the race card. And Big Rube, you're up first. I want to know, yeah, he's excited about that. I want to know what you think about those stories. And when I set it up by saying playing the race card, you know, obviously that is kind of a play upon how people like to call me and others like me a race baiter. I want to know what you think. Before you tell me, Michelle K is checking in. What's going on, sis?
Hey,
Thank you
Michelle.
for listening to us down there in the Tidewater, Virginia area. Big Rube, the race card. You heard the stories. What's your thoughts? And you can cite one or all or none of them. I just really want to talk about the situation.
All right, let's talk. Let's start with the 12-year-old with a BB gun.
Okay.
All right. Once again, do I think the cop should have shot him? I don't know. However, my issue once again comes with personal responsibility. You probably shouldn't be walking around as a 12-year-old with a BB gun. Now, I read that article, and the difference that you tell a BB gun from a regular gun is that the safety is a different color. It's orange. So if you see orange, you know it's not a real
The police
gun
shot
gun.
within 2 seconds of arriving at the
Hold
scene.
on. Listen,
2
I'm
seconds.
getting there.
Okay.
I understand that.
Okay.
You know. But if I'm correct, the call was there's a kid waving around a gun. Correct?
That is
Roughly the call.
And the call also says it's probably a toy. That was the other piece, yes.
Now, what I read was the 911 person says probably not a toy, but they did not communicate that to the officers.
That's correct. They did not.
So that's another situation that needs to be dealt with. You know, the 911 operator clearly did not communicate the correct information to the officers. Now, once again, I understand they probably shouldn't have shot him, or if they shot him, I don't know the rules of giving first aid. My assumption is, I thought you just give first aid. Could be wrong. I don't know. So I can't answer that. But if it is the case, then yeah, maybe they should have, at least the person who didn't shoot him should have ran and did something. You know? Because if I'm correct, in 3 minutes and 47 seconds later, another cop who came on the scene went and tried to give him help. But the question here is, did the cop shoot a kid because he was black? My question back is, what black kid should be walking around the city with a BB gun? That's my first question. Because once again, whether it's wrong or right, I'm going to start at the beginning. Personal responsibility's got to come into play sometime. Mom was upset. Mom, you know, of course, she was beside herself, yada, yada, yada. She knew he had the BB gun. Real talk. Parents need to have that talk. You can't take this out the house because it did not have the orange on the safety, whatever. And we can go into deep of that. Marcus says he got shot within 2 seconds. Basically, what happened?
That's what the video.
Yeah, but basically what happened?
That's part of the report.
I understand that.
Don't brush over that because that's an important piece of information.
I understand that. However, the more important piece of information was that it was communicated to them. There's a child. There was a person walking around with a gun. The cops thought he was around 20, but he was 12. Walking around with a gun. They did say, hey, put the gun down, because that's what the article said. And he refused to do so. Personal responsibility. I don't care who you are. If you're 12 and somebody tells you to put your hands up or whatever, you don't sit there and put your hands in your pants looking like you grabbing for something.
I have a quick question on this one. 2 seconds. Was 2 seconds after he spoke to the child?
2 seconds
after.
2 seconds after they arrived on the scene, the guns were fired.
So where do you get to ask the kid? I don't see where there's time to say, put it down. I don't see where that came into play. That takes longer than 2 seconds.
I would agree.
To put that down. So I'm thinking, yeah, okay, if the 911 operator did not relay the importance of saying, you know, the caller said it's probably a gun, probably a toy, and that it was a child, and maybe the officer just went right on out there, and the officer just fired. That's what it sounds like to me. Yes, personal responsibility does come into play. Whoever it is walking around with it at 12 years old up and down the street should not have it. So somebody needs to be held accountable for the child, A, having the toy and taking the toy to go walking up and down the road. However, it doesn't, give the officer a break for getting out of his car and then firing his weapon, because that's exactly what it sounds like to me. So I'm thinking it just may be, yeah, here goes a black kid. He's got a gun. Let me shoot.
Well, here's my thing. I mean, my deal is many times people of other communities are given the benefit of the doubt far more cases than we are given the benefit of. I dropped a stat on you before. It's not something I pulled out of the air. You can look it up yourself, that black men are 21% more likely to be shot by police than anybody else. Does that mean that we're the only ones walking around waving guns and acting crazy?
No.
Does that mean that? Because I could tell you about Lance Tamio of San Diego, who was walking around the park waving a gun at everybody in the park. You know, we did this story months ago, claiming that he was going to kill himself. And guess what the police did? They spent 45 minutes trying to talk him down before they finally shot him. You know where they shot him? They shot him in the side. And guess what they did? They took him to the hospital, and after he got healed up, then he got charged. But guess what? He was able to be charged because he was still here. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing. That's the key. That's the point that I like to make when I bring this up. That's what playing the race card is for me. It ain't showing up in a town when somebody has had the worst day of their life because they had a tragedy and I want to be on television. That's not me playing the race card. You know, it's not me, you know, working this radio show to a TV show so that you can see my smiling, handsome, dimpled face every single week or every single night on television. That's not me playing the race card. Me playing the race card is giving examples of how we have the boys in blue treat us differently, largely because of how they've had either past experiences, which is fair, or how they have seen us portrayed in television, in media, in the news. 93% of black people kill black people. But guess what? 86% of white people kill white people. But you never hear the phrase white on white crime. You just don't. And so, again, me playing the race card is me simply asking the question, why is it that we appear, and I'm going to use Darren Wilson's phrase, to have the face like a demon? You just shot me. That's why I got the face like a demon. I'm pissed about it, and it hurts. So, yeah, I look like a demon. He's 6'5", weighs 290 pounds. Darren Wilson, 6'3", weighs 220 pounds. I don't know about you, but if I'm a big guy, if I'm 6'3", 220 pounds, I'm going to walk around feeling like a big guy. And ain't too many other big guys around that's going to scare me to the point where I feel like a 5-year-old with Hulk Hogan. Playing the race card. That's what I'm doing here. I mean, what am I supposed to do with this, Ruben? I mean, I'm asking you, that's why, I mean, I get so frustrated by this because I want to be a fair-minded person. I want to be that person that says, you know what? White folk is just as messed up as black people. Everybody knows it. Everybody's treated the same. Just like before, when we were talking about rioting in the streets, we were talking about the fact that black folks is burning down Ferguson right now. We talked about 1992 on April 29th when the people were not convicted of beating the hell out of Rodney King, and they burned down Los Angeles. And we could talk about Watts. We can talk about Newark. We can talk about all of those riots. But you know what else we can talk about? We can talk about Denver in 1998 when white folks burned down that town when the Broncos won the Super Bowl. We can talk about that. We can talk about when the Giants won in San Francisco in 2012. We can talk about that. We can talk about Vancouver Canucks in 2011 losing the Stanley Cup. We can talk about that. You mentioned West Virginia earlier. We can talk about that. We can talk about what they did in Penn State when Joe Paterno got let go. We can talk about that. Lexington, Kentucky, when the Kentucky Wildcats won, 2012. Boston Red Sox, 2004. West Virginia, as you mentioned. Pennsylvania, as I mentioned. Knoxville, Tennessee. Lane Kiffin decides he don't want to coach no more. So guess what? They burned down town. They wilded out, acting crazy. Burning couches, Huntington Beach, surfing competitions. Oh, and my personal favorite in Kane, New Hampshire, 2014, the Pumpkin Festival. They acted crazy and rioted over freaking pumpkins. Come on, man. The race card.
You know, you really can't help. I don't blame you, honestly. You really can't help but to feel some kind of way about stuff like this. There's no way. I can never say that I think we're treated fairly. You see too much of the opposite going on. You see too much of it. No, so I don't blame you in any way.
I just get fired up, and I want somebody to tell me I'm wrong. I want somebody to tell me I'm tripping, and I want them to give me fair information. I don't want to always be in here talking to people who tend to agree with me. I want to talk to somebody who thinks that I'm tripping so that we can have an honest debate and an honest dialogue so that they can show me where they think I'm tripping so that I can expand my mind and maybe look at it from a different perspective. But until that moment comes, 804-402-2893, until that moment comes, this is the me you're going to get. And this is me that's pretty damn pissed and fired up. So fired up that I got to get out of here and take a break. When we come back, we're going to have a little bit of fun with our what the hell. We're going to finish up with some what the hell. I want to know about a new movie that is causing some uproar similar to a movie from a few months ago. What this pastor did is going to outrage you. And what's going on with attacking other people's kids in public? It just might cost you your job. Marcus J. Big Rube and the co-host, S.Y. Butler. You know, #Steppin Marcus J. Be back in a few minutes.